Welcome, Wargamers. My name is Doug with 2+ Stuff, and today we're going to talk again about Path to Glory, but in a very different way. Because recently I put out a video talking about why I think Games Workshop needs to give much more support to Path to Glory, and I'll put that link in the description down below. But they released something for the game 40k that really sparked my imagination, and it comes in this book. And so we're going to talk about it and what Crusade could mean for Age of Sigmar and, Path to Glory, all those kinds of things in this episode. So for those of you who might not be familiar, essentially, Crusade is sort of a slow grow / narrative campaign system. It functions a lot like Warcry in the sense of you keep track of your own army's progress. It starts at 25 power level, which is like roughly a 500 point game, and grows from there, kind of escalates. So it makes a fantastic onboarding thing for gaming groups, as well as a cool narrative experience, because as you're playing these games, your fighters are gaining new abilities and experience, and they're also taking battle damage and scars, and so they gain all these bonuses and debuffs and all this kinds of stuff, and by the end of it you have a full story of how your faction kind of came to be. Now, Crusade was introduced in this most recent edition of 40k, and I'm so excited to play it. Honestly, it is the only thing that I'm excited for when it comes to 40k, but I am insanely excited about it, like truthfully. And it's also the kind of thing where you can, if you want to, take your Crusade army against a match, like a competitive match play army, because you're the only one keeping track of your scores and that kind of thing. It doesn't actually matter if your opponent's playing the same thing. However, I strongly suggest it. How about that? We'll put it that way. But more to the point, so Crusade kind of functions-ish like the Path to Glory in Age of Sigmar. Okay, they're kind of the same concept. But Age of Sigmar doesn't have something like this. I'm going to go to the downward cam. We're going to talk about what this book actually is. Okay, so this is called Warhammer 40k Crusade Mission Pack Beyond the Veil. First of all, comes on, I think it's A5 size paper. This is amazing. This is the kind of support book size that we need, so we're not lugging around massive tomes all the time. And it's centered around, of course, with 40k's new launch. They have the Necrons, which are these guys, and the Space Marines, who everyone and their mother knows what they look like. So, what is this? Well, essentially, it picks out a specific setting known as the Pariah Nexus, which is just a cluster of stars and that kind of thing. It gives you some background as to why this location is so important, why all the factions would want to be there. And it absolutely at no point says this is Necrons and Space Marines. It's just a place. And that's important because for a lot of the campaigns and that kind of stuff and narrative missions, a lot of it is centered around specific factions. And I love the fact that this is about a place. You know what I mean? So that any army can roll up and be like, yeah, I have a reason to be here. Look at all this crazy stuff that's happening. Absolutely, why not? And so I really did appreciate that. Now, it goes ahead and it gives you some specific rules as far as it kind of reprints some of the Crusade things, so you have a cool little reference guide. And I promise I'm going to get to how this is relates to Path to Glory here in a little bit. And then it kind of breaks into, they have unique missions and secondary objectives. You have unique, they call them battle traits, but these are like bonuses that your heroes can get throughout the campaign. You have unique relics, like artifacts, we would call them in Age of Sigmar, battle scars, so bad things happen to your unit, they get stuck with that for forever, and a few, what we would say would be command ability equivalents, so these would be stratagems. And sort of a little bit of a campaign thing. So the whole deal with the Pariah Nexus is you're trying to investigate what's going on there. You don't actually know. And so that's what's cool is that it's a mystery for every single faction. And so you can try to study what's going on, seize the supply cache, and this is just kind of a little in-game campaign thing. It's very light. I use that word campaign lightly. There's just kind of a base thing you can do to get some extra bonuses. It's not super intense. Most of the campaign-ish, rules and that kind of stuff is covered by Crusade proper, the things that we passed by earlier. So there's that, and then they kind of give you these are really fun strategic setbacks and afflictions. Basically, we would probably call these like Realmscape features, where it's an extra challenge or twist to make things way harder, and then it jumps into a buttload of missions. Okay, and they are missions for every size. Combat Patrol is a very small game of 40k, and it just scales upward all the way, and these just get bigger and bigger. There are so many missions in here. And then at the back, sorry about that, at the back, it comes with the basic rules for 9th edition. Now, of course, you're going to want the actual book because it tells you how to walk you through playing Crusade and that kind of stuff, but having the basic rules for questions and that kind of thing is, in my opinion, always a good deal. I loved it about the first wave of Age of Sigmar books, and then of course the game got FAQ'd and expanded so much that that's not really a thing. But yeah, it comes with everything, even as far as like the smaller rules, objective markers, rare rules. I just love it. So all in terrain stuff obviously is very important for when you're playing narrative games. And so I wanted to take a moment and ask, what can Age of Sigmar learn from this? I'll be honest with you, as a narrative primarily gamer, I think this product is an absolute slam dunk. Thank you, GW. They did send this to me for all intents and purposes, but they also sent me this. And just for the sake of being an honest reviewer, I hate this book. This is match play missions that are like, you're supposed to bring your own terrain to a tournament, which just sounds like a migraine waiting to happen for TOs. Sorry, I don't care for this one. This book is everything I want in a hobby, where it's narrative missions, it's got a lot of flavor. If I were to transfer this over to Age of Sigmar Path to Glory, again, that's kind of the equivalent, roughly speaking, you would have to have, again, like the actual rules for playing Crusade and how you conduct campaigns and missions. That's all located in the Warhammer 40k core rulebook. So they would have to pretty much update the Age of Sigmar core rulebook to incorporate that as well. Not a big deal, but I hope they do. Now, as far as the actual contents of the book, first of all, missions. That was the biggest thing that I mentioned in the Path to Glory thing, where we have a Path to Glory book for Age of Sigmar. It's digital only, I believe, now, but it doesn't come with a lot of missions. So jam-packing a bunch of them that are like attacker, defender, or we're trying to do it as, achieve a specific objective and our opponents are trying to shut us down. Those kinds of things are phenomenal. And this book is full of them, and not only full of them, but full of them at different sized games. And that's important because the Path to Glory missions as we have them now have no reference point for size of games. You could roll one that is extremely difficult for you because you just started and you have a hero and like 2 units with him, but you could roll that same mission when you have a full army, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden it changes and it becomes way different. So it's just kind of a rough thing. So having missions set aside specifically for different sizes of games, slam dunk. Now, the next thing I will comment on, it's a little bit looser on the rules, but the concept of saying we created a Crusade campaign, we created a Path to Glory campaign system, and to supplement that, we're going to give you very specific places. Rather than focusing on reenacting a specific battle from the universe's history, we're going to pick a location, give you lore on it, give you a map, give you some cool things to look at, and then have a whole bunch of terrain rules, of Rumscape features, unique artifacts and command abilities, all the things to bring life into that tiny slice of the mortal realms. That's what this thing does for 40k and the Pariah Nexus. I like that change from talking about faction versus faction, because they could have just said this is a Space Marines versus Necrons book, but instead they chose a location. And it's a location that's not at a specific time in history or anything like that. It's just everybody has a reason to be there, investigating what's going on, and stuff gets really wild for everybody. And I like that. Because I imagine if they had chosen a slice of, let's say Akshi, right? They do a lot of stuff in the Realm of Fire, which is fine. I like it. It's cool. Or even Shyish, because we've been stuck in a Shyish rut for the last 2 years. You know what I mean? You can just pick a part out and be like, hey, we're in this little, sub-realm there. Here's everything about it. You can really explore that slice of it. Give every army a reason to be there. Just say that it's mysterious, or there's a storm vault here, and here's some history about why it's attracting everybody. And then you equip us with all kinds of new things reflective of that specific setting. As I said before, the campaign system here is super light. You do get a little bit of resources, but it's just for like, investigating what's going on, or you uncover an extra supply cache with some extra things in it. Nothing is super big. The campaign is on you to keep track of for your units, but in terms of like a full campaign system, this is not really it. This is missions, lore, and excitement. This is pretty much all this thing is. Whereas this is just missions. Now, this is only amplified by the fact that the new 40k codexes, thank you GW, they sent this to me specifically because I wanted to learn all about the new Crusade system. I have no interest in playing Necrons specifically. I like them, probably gonna do some lore videos on them, but I don't actually have any desire to play the models. But let me just fast forward through this book here, and we come to the Crusade section. Now this means that not only do I get to play my Necrons in 40k, obviously, but I get to play them in a very narrative campaign format with Necron-specific rules. It's not all the core rule book for everybody. And I get to take these thematic rules for my faction that I'm designing my own lore for and bring them to a unique place with its own ecosystem, its own environment, its own command abilities, and equivalent of Realmscape features, that kind of stuff. It's just more ways of creating unique, flavorful things that have real impact and meaningful gameplay. And honestly, when I think of myself as a narrative player, that's what I'm looking for. When I use the Anvil of Apotheosis, I want to make a hero that is meaningful to my army, that has a cool story behind him and looks super baller and all this kinds of stuff. And between the Crusade rules, basic in the core book, every codex going forward having their own unique spin on this, so that this like when I play Necrons in Crusade, they feel like Necrons specifically, and then taking us on a journey through place to place of different battles that these people would be in, and they gain honors and they take wounds and that kind of thing. It just kind of comes together, frankly, to be everything that I wanted from Path to Glory, where it's just storytelling in action. This is what it looks like. And you can keep your same Crusade army, and then when they put out the next thing that is not the Pariah Nexus, it's like, I don't know, Moons of Saturn or something crazy, and then it'll have a whole bunch of new missions and a whole bunch of new stuff. You can just take your same army and be like, okay, now we're going over here in the universe, and this is what it's like over here with new challenges and new strengths and weaknesses. I love it. I guess what I'm trying to say is, towards the end of my last video talking about Path to Glory, I mentioned they did all the work, right? Like, we have rules for Realmscape features, we have allegiance ability rules within our factions, we have great missions in Age of Sigmar. Some of the narrative missions are like freaking awesome, but they have not been put together in such a way as to make it a super fun format. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is it. Like, the Crusade system as a whole, obviously not the specific book, but the whole thing kind of goes together on a game level of that. It was thought about to be in the core rule book. It was thought about a lot. And then to go faction specific so that your army can feel like it belongs to you or that faction. Like the Orc one is going to have orky things, and the Necron one has Necron-y things, to make their army feel more flavorful. And then you take your distinguished, flavorful army to unique places across the galaxy and just have fun and tell stories. So GW, if you're listening, have your AOS team, go buy some donuts and sneak in and sit in on a meeting of the guys over at the 40k team who are writing these kinds of things. And throw a party together, have them like scribble some cheat sheet stuff on their hands so they can come back to the AOS center and be like, yo dog, we figured it out. All I have to say, I love this product. I'm not going to be doing anything with Crusade until I move, of course. But I did grab some orcs just because I think they sound like a lot of fun, doing some character driven, that kind of stuff. For building up an army and getting all kinds of battle honors and that kind of stuff. So very excited about that. I'm not sure how much it'll be on the channel just because, I don't know, I don't do a lot of 40k stuff, but I probably should start doing a little bit more. Anyway, tell me your thoughts on Crusade, but in the context, of course, this whole time I've been talking about how this is everything I wanted for Path to Glory in Age of Sigmar. So that's kind of the lens I wanted to look through this with. And tell me your thoughts down below. How would you like to see Path to Glory evolve, knowing that we have a really cool system in 40k that I'd love to port over. What would you like to see changed or modified? Tell me in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and happy wargaming. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed that video. It was made possible by the folks over here to the left. These are my top supporters over here on YouTube and on Patreon that keep this channel going. If you'd like to learn more about how to become a supporter and get some cool things in the process, like exclusive pictures and interactions with me, and get your questions answered here on the channel, go ahead and click any of the links down below or the join button on the community page over on YouTube. Regardless of your choice, I wanted to thank you so much for joining me with this video, and I look forward to seeing you in my next one. Happy wargaming.